Now it's time to talk football, and I'm joined by Thomas Farines, who works for the group Football Beyond Borders, and Marshall Gore, chairman of the African Cup of Nations UK. Evening to you, gents. Let's start first with the Premier League then. So Manchester City getting beaten by Burnley today. Can they kiss their title hopes goodbye? What do you think, guys?
To be honest, I still think they can do something, but it all depends on the result of Chelsea tomorrow. Because if Chelsea wins, it's 8 points, and that'll be hard to cope with for Man City. And
what are your thoughts on this, Marshall? Can City maintain any form of a title challenge now? Because it looks like Chelsea are going to pull away from them, essentially.
I think what is worrying about Man City is that is the manner in which they are conceding defeat. Today's game, there was no life in them. You look at Pellegrini's body language, he's showing capitulation. The whole team did not fire up today, and this is going away at Burnley at the crucial time of the season. So I think it's actually a big blow for them title-wise, and I think, like he said, it's Chelsea's to lose now, because 5 points gap with 2 games in hand. It's all looking like it's all on Chelsea now, but you never know with football.
Looking at the other end of the table as well, Burnley only a point off of safety now, essentially. There's a few more games to go, of course, but they'll be feeling confident going into the final part of the season now, won't they?
Yeah, I think when you look at the bottom, the win against City gives them a huge lift, because it's not a fixture that you could say at the start of the season they would expect to win it. But now they've won, and it's given them a big lift now. Pressure from Leicester, QPR, Villa, Sunderland. I think Burnley's performance has shown that they could drag Sunderland in, you know. And I think them and Villa are picking form at the right time. So I could actually see trouble for Sunderland, QPR, and Leicester.
And Arsenal now just a point behind City in the league table after their win against West Ham today. Where has this sort of turn of form come from? Because a few weeks ago, every Arsenal fan was calling for Arsene Wenger's head.
Well, that was the same thing that happened last season, and they end up winning the FA Cup at the end, right? So I think Arsenal supporters they want to win immediately. They're used to have Vieira, Henry, and win the league unbeaten. So that shows that Arsene still has it, and they can do something before the end of the season, maybe reaching the 2nd place in front of City.
That would be a fabulous finish for Arsenal fans, and an unexpected one to some degree as well. When it comes to the race for 4th, Arsenal will be feeling confident at the moment now. Manchester United play tomorrow against Tottenham, so that is a crucial game for that race for 4th, isn't it, that game tomorrow?
I think it is, and you can say it for Arsenal again, that picking form at this time is the right time to actually pick form. But I think the 4th contest is still very widely open, and I think Liverpool are in the mix, and Man United's result tomorrow will be actually crucial in looking at it. But it looks like Arsenal are in the driving seat right now, and they've kind of like picked form at the right minute, and they work very well when the pressure is not on them, you know. So I think after the Champions League defeat, sort of like everybody, like even their fans were quite angry and writing them off, but they seem to pick themselves up well after a defeat like the Monaco defeat, and Premier League, Champions League next season is crucial for them.
I want you to consider how English teams have done in Europe. You know, you mentioned about the Arsenal-Monaco game there, Marshall. Chelsea went out to Paris Saint-Germain this week. We also saw Manchester City beating their first game against Barcelona, and they're not looking the most confident of going through in that game, Barcelona being on form at the moment, top of La Liga. Why do you think English clubs haven't really fared so well in European competitions this year?
I think, to me, the Chelsea performance clearly signifies in terms of the way the game is being played in Europe now, in that they're more tactically very aware side and very good side as well. And because we don't see some of these sides week in, week out, we tend to underestimate the likes of PSG and Monaco. But if you see over 2 legs the football that PSV played against Chelsea, they were technically and by far the better side, you know. And if you see again Barcelona against Man City, again, if you look at it from all the technicalities, they were by far better than Man City in terms of their tactical disposition. You have to say that some of the European teams, like the teams from France, are picking up now. PSG has got some very good quality of players, and they did spend some good money as well. So the balance is slightly shifting at the moment, and English teams are in disarray at the moment.
And why do you think Arsenal and Manchester City could struggle against European opposition this week, Thomas?
Well, I think that Barcelona will it's their game to lose, as Chelsea tomorrow. But for Monaco, it's going to be hard for them to hold on the result, because I think that with the form that Arsenal has now, they'll go for it. And if they score the first and the second goal fast, they will put the pressure on Monaco's shoulders. And I believe that Arsenal can still pass. Remember, a couple of seasons ago, it was Arsenal AC Milan. They lost the first game 4-0, and then they won the second 4-1. They didn't qualify, but they showed the result.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the sort of spirit they'll be trying to invoke for this round of games.
Yeah, but when you look at it, I think yes, it has been done with Arsenal before. But when you look at this Monaco side, they're very brilliant at home. They hardly concede goals at home. I think if at all, in the Champions League, they've only conceded 1 goal through the group stages. So, but it's interesting to say that Arsenal have shown life after the first home defeat. They did it against I think Bayern Munich last time. They went and won in Germany, and slightly it was a bit too late. But again, you know, it's football again. But I think Monaco would go through. But
Marshall Thomas, thank you very much indeed for that. I'll hear from you later on in the show. Well, I'm joined again now by Thomas Farines, who works with the group Football Beyond Borders, and Marshall Gore, chairman of the African Cup of Nations. Gents, let's talk about the Major League Soccer situation now, because New York City are going to play their first home match of the season in the iconic Yankee Stadium. Is this the season where the MLS can break through into the US national consciousness and essentially compete with basketball, football, hockey and all the other sports that they love so much?
Well, in my opinion, it's already doing that. You can see that every week. They have more people attending in the stadiums than most of the leagues, including the French league, who's considered one of the top 5. So, in average, yes, I would say that this might not be the season where they'll have still the best results and the best teams, but they're growing, and that's very interesting. And
Marshall, FIFA must be delighted at what a growth potential they can see here, because the World Cup was fantastic for the USA, getting so far and doing so well in the tournament. Is it still ranking within the national consciousness of that tournament, and can it translate into more people playing the game in the US?
I think it has. If you saw that the US national team acquainted themselves very well at the last World Cup, and that's a huge boost in the incentive. But then you've got to say that it's key for FIFA that America is a very good catch in terms of that. It's got money and it's got resources in its game. And what is unique about them as well is the decentralization of their football league, and the kind of like embedment of football league and city. You know, the likes of New York City, it's a city team. The likes of Orlando City, where Kaka is playing, it's a city team again. So that kind of like brings a citizenry responsibility of saying it's our team and we own it. And I think if you want to start a football club, that's the right way to do it, to brand it with the city. And I think it works very well. And given the financial muscle of America, I think we're beginning to see the dawn of a new era. And I think this league, apart from attracting more or less like players that are going into their retirement, I think the huge cash incentive in the league will actually see it competing with the European leagues very soon. We are not far from it, rather than them taking players that are prior to retirement now. I think we will see them competing for actually very youthful, good international players very soon. It will rival the European leagues very soon.
And keeping those players within the league will be important as well, won't it, Thomas? They wouldn't want to see talent at, say, the LA Galaxy or the Seattle Sounders go off and apply their trade in Europe for big money if they're starting their careers at those clubs.
Yes, as Marshall just said, they've also started to get some players like Jovinko, that was playing for Juventus, is now in Toronto. He's 28. He's still has a couple of years, and I believe that with the investment they're doing as well in the same system as baseball, where you get some money for X amount of money for your first team, you do have Y for the academy, which means that they're probably investing more in academies than ourselves.
Exactly. And also, like he's saying, that there's huge focus on grassroots football and investment. And if you look at the American football development model, it actually emphasized more, it started on grassroots football development. But I think, like, when you look at the huge capital and corporate that are involved in sponsorship in the league, you can actually see that very soon we won't be seeing the league as a retirement heaven for players. We've already started to see the Jovinkos, the Obafemi Martins, who are in their kind of like late 20s, now going into there. So I think very soon we'll see a lot of migration from actually Europe, of people going there, because there is money in American football as well. And I think there is enough money with the way the stadiums are being filled up as well, and the corporatism that surrounds the game. We could see actually a lot of European players trickling in the league, and it will compete here.
So as you said, the money is flushing into the league, into the organisation and the administration. Hundreds of millions are expected for the revenue this year, but that has to translate to players' wages and for incentives for players, doesn't it? Because we know the marquee names like Steven Gerrard's, like you say, Jovinkos, will be getting paid millions of dollars per year to be playing in the league, and Lampard as well, Frank Lampard coming over from from Manchester City. But how important is it? How much of a challenge is it to reward the players for playing in a league that is essentially still fledgling in many people's eyes?
Well, well, I think it's very interesting as well the way that they choose the salary. You have 2 or 3 designated players that have a big salary, and then you have other opportunities and sizes of salaries, development players and stuff like that. I think that's good in a way that you don't have a lot of money in all the players. You can focus on one star. And that's as well how they do in the other American sports like basketball, baseball, and everything. I think that's an interesting way of hiring.
Yeah, but again, you see it, the Qataris try to do it, and it really worked as well. That when you put money into your league, it does get the focus. And I know the American branding at the moment has been that the MLS also goes into partnership with bringing big icons like Frank Lampard, David Beckham, and Steven Gerrard, that the league itself is involved in supporting franchising of big name players to come. That's where it's starting, that you get these big name players coming, the likes of Kaka in the league. And then what will follow up now is that you then very soon you'd see quite a lot of very athletic and youthful players joining in.
Ever so sorry, Marshall, I've got to wrap you up there. We're running out of time, but thank you very much for all your comments. Fantastic stuff. And